Erev Tov Rabotai, we are continuing with our Mishna Yomi, Masechet Yevamot. We are up to Perek Gimel, Mishnah Tet. Today's Mishnayot should be Leilun Nishmat, Neria ben Svetlana, Aranbai, Eliyahu ben Burcha Israelo, ben Chana bat Miriam, Menuchatam began Eden, Amen, Elavde ben Chaim Lechaim, V'derefua Shenemav, Daniel Shalom ben Rosa, B'tor Shah Chulei Israel. The following Mishnah addresses a case of Yibum where there are three brothers and none of them are married to sisters. Shlosha achim nisuin shalosh nochriot. There are three brothers married to three unrelated women. Umet ahad men, one of the brothers died. V'asa ba sheni ma'amar, and the second brother made ma'amar with the widow, making a partial marriage with her. V'amet, and he then died, leaving two widows. One to whom he had been fully married, and the second to whom he had been partially married through ma'amar. Harei elu chodzot v'lo mityabmot. The law is that both these widows perform chalitza with the living brother, but may not be taken in ibum by him. Shenemar, as it is stated in Sefer Dvarim, chapter 25, verse 5. Umet achad mehem yivamah yavo aleh, and one of them dies, her yavam shall come to her. She'aleh zikat yavam echad, which teaches that yibum is performed only with the widow who has on her a yibum bond from one yavam, velo she'aleh zikat shnei yavamin, and not with the widow who has on her a yibum bond from two yavams. Since the ma'amar wife was never fully married to the second brother, she still has a yibum bond from the first brother, but since she was partially married to the second brother, she has a yibum bond from him as well. And as a result, she has a yevamah who is bound to a third brother with yibum bonds from two of his brothers. She is therefore now eligible for yibum. She is not eligible for yibum and needs chalitza instead. However, her chalitza cannot exempt her co-wife because she is only partially her co-wife. Therefore, her co-wife needs chalitza as well. At the same time, the co-wife's chalitza cannot exempt the ma'amar wife because the ma'amar wife still has a yibum bond from the first husband. Therefore, they both need chalitza. Now, although the Mishnah cites a verse, the law of our Mishnah is not actually a biblical law because ma'amar does not work at all on a biblical level. Accordingly, each one really needs her own yibum or chalitza. However, because ma'amar makes it look like both widows were married to the second husband, if we were to allow the third brother to perform yibum with both or give chalitza to one and perform yibum with the other, people might think that this is the procedure even when two women really are widows of the same brother. The rabbis therefore decreed that he must give chalitza to both women. And the verse quoted by the Mishnah is merely an asmachta, a scriptural text that supports a rabbinic decree. Now, the commentators explain once a yavam performs yibum or chalitza with one co-wife, the others are biblically forbidden to him, and this is derived from verses in the Torah, how Rashi explains it on page 11a, according to the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan. The Mishnah cites another view. Rabbi Shimon says, Me'abem le'ezeb Ezra said the living brother may perform yibum with whichever widow he chooses, and then perform chalitza with the other one. According to Rabbi Shimon, ma'amar surely does not make a partial marriage. However, he is unsure whether it creates a full marriage or none at all. If it creates a full marriage, then the second brother was fully married to both widows, and the third brother can perform yibum with one and thereby free the other. If it does not make any marriage at all, then each brother was married to one widow, so the third brother can perform yibum with both widows. Either way, he may perform yibum with one of the widows, and the other one needs chalitza. The chalitza with the second is to free her in case ma'amar is not a marriage, so that she needs her own chalitza or yibum. And the Rav does tell us, Ven halacha ke Rabbi Shimon, the halacha does not follow the opinion of Rabbi Shimon. Now, having completed its discussion of cases involving three brothers, the Mishnah moves on to a case of two brothers married to two sisters. There are two brothers married to two sisters. One of the brothers died. And afterward, the wife of the second brother died. At this point, the widow of the first brother is no longer forbidden to the second brother as his wife's sister, since a man is allowed to marry his wife's sister after his wife dies. This widow of the first brother is forbidden to the second brother forever, despite the fact that she is no longer an ervatim on account of being his wife's sister. Because she became forbidden to him for yibum at one time, because she became eligible for yibum at the moment her husband died. When her husband died, her sister was still alive, therefore she was an erva at that time to the second brother. Since at that point the second brother could not marry her, she is the same as a woman whose husband died with children, who is an erva to the living brothers forever. That is then of Mishnah Tet. Mishnah Yud now discusses another law unrelated to yibum that potentially involves two brothers married to two sisters. Shnaim shekitshu shtei Nashim, if two women betrothed two women who were not, if two men betrothed two women who are not related to each other, meaning each man betrothed one of them. Betrothal Kiddushin is the first stage of marriage in which the couple is considered married, but they are not yet permitted to live together as husband and wife until the end of the chuppah. So again, Shnayim shekidshu shtei nashim, if two men betrothed two women who are not related to each other, meaning each man betrothed one of them, ubishayt kinisatan lechuppah echlifu et shel zeh lazeh, and at the time they entered the chuppah to complete their marriage, they accidentally switched this one's wife for that one's wife, and that one's wife for this one's wife, and each had relations with the wrong woman. For example, the two chuppahs were being held at the same time and the brides were each led to the wrong chuppah. The law is that these people are each liable to a chatat offering for having slept with the married woman. Since they each slept with the other one's wife, they have each mistakenly committed adultery, as have the woman. All four of them must therefore atone for their unintentional sin by making a chatat offering in the temple. Hayu achin, if the men were brothers, mishum eshet ach, they are all liable to another sin offering for sleeping with the brother's wife. V'im hayu achayot, and if the women were sisters, mishum isha lechotad, they are all liable to a third chatat offering for sleeping with the wife and her sister while being married to her sister. Now the kiddushin he made with his wife prohibited to his sister, and that's to her sister, and that's why he would have to bring another sin offering. V'im hayu nidot, and if the women were nidot, woman who menstruates, we know it's forbidden to her husband until she immerses in a mikvah at the proper time. Mishum nidah, they're all liable to a fourth sin offering for sleeping with the nidah. Now there's a general rule that any isur halal isur, a prohibition does not take effect on top of another prohibition. Meaning, as far as atonement offerings and punishments are concerned, once something is forbidden due to one prohibition, it does not become more prohibited due to a second prohibition. The Tana of our Mishnah teaches there are certain exceptions to this rule. One is where two prohibitions take effect on a person at the same time. For example, when the first brother married the first sister, she simultaneously became forbidden to the second brother on two counts, as someone else's wife and as his brother's wife. And the second exception is known as Isul Kolel, a more inclusive prohibition where the second prohibition prohibits more things than the first one did. For example, when a man marries a woman, she becomes forbidden to his brother. When the second brother then marries her sister, he becomes forbidden to all his wife's sisters, not just the one married to his brother. Since the wife's sister's prohibition takes hold on all the sisters that are not married, it also takes hold on the sister who is married to the first brother, even though she was already forbidden. And a third exception is known as Isu Mosif, a more extensive prohibition, a new prohibition that comes along and makes a prohibited thing forbidden to more people or forbidden in more ways. So for example, when the first brother married his wife, she became forbidden to all other men as a married woman. When she then became a nida, she became forbidden even to her husband. Since the nidah prohibition takes hold in regard to the husband, it takes hold in regard to every other man as well, even though she was already forbidden to them. The Mishnah teaches further laws relating to this case. Umafrishin otan shelosha chodeshim. Before the women return to their true husbands, we separate them for 3 months. Now, although each woman slept with someone who was not her husband, she is allowed to return to her husband because she committed adultery unintentionally, thinking that it was her husband. But the wife of a Kohen is an exception to this rule. She is forbidden to him even if the adultery was accidental. So the Mishnah says again, Mafrishin otan shelosha chodeshim. Before the women return to their true husbands, we separate them for 3 months. Shema mubaroten, in case they are pregnant from the men with whom they mistakenly slept with. If they are, the child is a mamzer, who may not marry Jews of proper lineage. A child born from an adultery is a mamzer, even if the adultery is unintentional. If they were allowed to return to their true husbands immediately after leaving the men they mistakenly married, we would have no way of knowing whether a child born 9 months later was a child of the first man or the second. If the women were young girls, meaning less than 12 years old, who are not yet capable of having children, we return them to their true husbands immediately. Now, before the daughter of a Kohen gets married, she is allowed to eat terumah. If she marries someone who is not a Kohen, she is not allowed to eat terumah. If, however, her husband dies and she has no children with him, the general law is that she returns to her previous status and is again allowed to eat terumah unless she somehow became disqualified from the kiunah. The Mishnah now teaches that adultery, even when done unintentionally, disqualifies a woman from the kiunah. If the women were daughters of Kohanim, nifsilu min terumah, they became disqualified from eating terumah, even if their husbands died without having a child. Since they slept with someone who was an avah to them, even though it was accidental, they became disqualified from eating terumah. And that is in Rabotai today's Mishna Yomi. Baruch Adonai leolam. Amen v'amen.